above you. That side is completely...
Hello guys, my name is Iron and today I will be reviewing Verdun. Now, Verdun is a realistic World War I first-person shooter. There are a few other first-person shooters that are being realistic these days, but this is the only World War I that I know of. It's been out for a while, and it's due to come out of beta soon, I think. I'm not 100% sure. But it's a decent game in my opinion, but there are a few flaws which I will go over. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it. So the graphics. The models and textures seem to be carefully detailed, and they do look like the real world counterpart of the weapons, uniforms and other things like that. So anything that you do find in the game, it will look like the real life counterpart, as it should do for a realistic World War I shooter. It looks like the dev team have taken a lot of care to research everything and make sure that all the weapons used by each nation are the weapons that were used then. So obviously, you know, you won't see the Germans using the Enfield or anything like that. You know, you won't see a modern day machine gun or something like that thrown into the mix for whatever reason. So it's all there to represent each nation properly, so there's nothing out of place that makes one nation better than the other. With the graphics turned up on full, it's really easy to get stuck into the game because it looks beautiful with all the graphics turned up, but it does feel like there's a lot of issues with their optimization, because I've had it turned down all the way to low settings completely on everything, and on some maps it still really does not run well. I can still get 20 FPS, and my system isn't bad. It's not the best system, but it's really not that bad. I can easily break 60 FPS in Battlefield 4 on Ultra, and this really shouldn't be like that, but for some reason I struggle to get FPS above 30 on some of the maps. But with the graphics being as good as they are, it wouldn't be a great game without sound. So I'm happy to say that the sound has had the same care and attention put into it as the graphical design has. So every time that you fire a weapon, it really does sound satisfying. You know, it's really crunchy and punchy. So every time you do fire that rifle, it sounds awesome as well. And I've had a few more, well, many moments where I've had like mortars or the 75mm artillery shells coming down around me, and I've just felt like I'm about to get my shit blown up here. This is going to be fucking amazing, and it's going to be fucking scary at the same time. And there are a few moments when I've screamed quite legitimately because something blew up next to me that I wasn't expecting. But every single time something impacts the ground, it's a really deep thud. The only problem with the sounds that I've got is the grenades. Now the grenades, they sound decent as an explosion, but there's not really a sense of this can hurt you. It's more of a hollow sound of an explosion than an actual thud of an explosion, if you understand my drift. It's not like the artillery where it's, you know, a big massive thud and it feels like it can blow you up and rip you apart, but the grenades just sound empty somehow. With the sound and the graphics done, put together, it seems like a really good game, but unfortunately, as I mentioned before, the optimization isn't overly great. There are some maps that are really well optimized, like the new map that they put in most recently. That is optimized so brilliantly. I can get 60 FPS in that constantly without any problems. I will never dip below 60 FPS on that new map. I really wish I could remember the name of it, but I can't. But on some of them, I can dip to like below 20. Some of the older maps, I think it's Flanders Fields is one of them, where I really struggle with FPS on that now. I never used to do that. Until the biggest, latest patch came out, I never struggled with FPS that much. But now it constantly dips below 20, and it sometimes can make the game unplayable, which obviously does ruin the whole experience. But with some bad optimization on some of the older maps, I do love the older maps that they've got in, and also the new map as well. So there's 7 maps in total, and you can choose from, it's not necessarily different settings, but there's different places in France that you can fight in. You'd think that trench warfare would be a bit samey and quite boring and everything on each map, but thankfully it's not that case. Each map's made differently and it's got its own style. So if you won a game that's in the middle of the map, like in the middle of the line, so you won the 5th map in through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, and you were on the ally side and you were attacking from the top and going down, you would then move on to the 6th map. But if you lost, then you would then move on to the 4th map and everything like that, and then if you lost again, you'd move on to the 3rd, until you got all the way up to map number 1, and then if you lost that one, you would then go back into map number 5 again, you go right back to the middle. And then obviously if you won, then you go all the way up to 7, then you go right back to the middle again. It really is an interesting game design where you can actually move along each map and you know which map you're going to get, depending on if you've won or lost each round before. It's a different kind of mechanic, and I really do like that because it makes it more predictable and it makes you understand what will happen next if you win or lose the battle, and it makes losing the battle possibly easier or better. I've known teams that in the past have actually lost battles in order to get on a better map for them, so then they could win that one and then go back onto that one, because usually a few people would drop out at that point if they lost the game after they'd just won one. Kind of bad, but you know, that's the way that people will be and you can't really do anything about that. So with the maps and everything, it seems like they're designed around trench warfare. They are, but to go along with that, it's not only one game mode, there's now 3 game modes. There's Frontline, Attrition and Rifle Deathmatch. My personal favourite is Frontlines. I will never get over Frontlines. It's the best game mode in my opinion for this. But the other 2 are very decent as well. I just play Frontlines all the time instead because it's my personal favourite. So obviously with any multiplayer shooter these days, you've got an unlock progression system where you can customise your gear with and everything. Usually you can change skins and everything like that as well, but because this is generally an older style game in most aspects, you obviously can't run around with a massive artillery piece on your back and then blow the crap out of everything. It's more subdued like that. So you've got a squad of 4 people. Each person in your squad has a specific task. So for this, I'm basically going to take the Tommies because they're the ones that I play as most of the time. So as the Tommies, you've got a corporal, a rifleman, a gunner and a bomber. A corporal, you can choose between a revolver and binoculars, a revolver and grenades, or a rifle and a bayonet. That's the 3 loadouts that you get. You can't change between what you get in each loadout or anything. That is a set loadout. So the revolver and the binoculars is a set loadout, the revolver and the grenades is a set loadout, the rifle and the bayonet is a set loadout. You can pick one of those, but you can't change between them and swap what you get with them, so you can't get a rifle and grenades or whatever. As well as that, obviously the corporal is also the one who you can spawn on in your squad. Won't always happen, I don't really understand how they work it, but you can sometimes spawn on the corporal in your squad if you die and the corporal doesn't. Corporal can also set an attack point or a rally point or a defend point for your squad, so you can all go to the same place. And he can also call in artillery. Now for the Tommies, it's generally a mortar at first, and then once your squad ranks up quite a bit, it goes over to the 75mm artillery. And I think as you level up, it goes from like a couple of shells of mortars to about 5 or 6 or whatever it is, and then obviously goes up to the artillery pieces, like 75mm, and then it gets more of those and everything, I think anyway. I'm not really 100% sure on that. And that can be called down anywhere on the battlefield, so you can call it down in your own trench, on the Germans' trench, or if you mess up, like I have quite a bit, you can call it way out in the distance where it's not any use to anyone, except for me. It looks quite pretty in the background. Next up is the rifleman. Now he can choose between a bayonet and a rifle, or a rifle and a bayonet, sorry, a rifle with a scope, or a rifle and a revolver. I don't particularly like the scopes. I'm more than happy sniping with the iron sights, but quite a few people do find the scope quite useful for the rifleman. Now, you'd think that the rifleman and the corporal have a lot in common, and that the rifleman doesn't really have anything over the corporal, but he does have the ability to reload a lot faster. He has the stripper clips, whereas the corporal you have to reload every round in by putting it in and then grabbing another one and putting that one in. With the rifleman, you can put them in 5 rounds at a time, put the stripper clip in, take that out, put another stripper clip in, and then you're instantly back in. I do miss the rifleman a few times when I'm playing as the corporal, just for the fast reload, but if you know how to move around the maps and everything, then it's not really an issue whatsoever. It just means that you have to hide a bit better when you're reloading and everything, or you have to take more care of when you reload, but other than that, it's really not a problem. Thirdly, we have the gunner. Now, the gunner is the one that I don't find the most useful, because it means that you have to stay stationary quite a bit. Now, the options for the gunner is that you can have a rifle and a revolver, a Lewis gun and a revolver, or a Lewis gun and a rifle. Now, for those of you who don't know, a Lewis gun's basically a big ass LMG, or a HMG, depending on how you look at it. Now, you can run and gun with the Lewis gun, but you can't ADS when you're moving around with it. To ADS, you have to put it down somewhere, and you basically have to mount it up, and then you can aim down sights with it. That's what I don't like, is the fact that you're very stationary with it. I like the idea of it, but I personally don't like not being able to move around, so I don't play as the gunner that much. I will do every now and then, and I can get quite a few kills with the gunner, but he's not personally my favourite class. And then lastly, we've got the bomber. Now, the bomber is, depending on how you look at it, is kind of obsolete if you've got a corporal who's taking grenades. I don't personally take the grenades with the corporal, so it's very useful to have a bomber for me. But the bomber can choose between a rifle and grenades, a revolver and grenades, or it can have a revolver and a trench club and grenades. The last one is generally the ones that I see people taking within the most on things like Flanders Fields and everything, because with the trench club you can one-hit someone, whereas if you melee them, I think it's 2 hits without anything like a bayonet or a club or a spade or anything. So it does help quite a bit. With the revolvers, obviously you get 6 shots and everything. They're very good at close range because they can out-damage a rifle with the number of shots that they can put down. The bomber, he can also run faster with his grenades out, and he has a further throwing distance with the grenades than any other class. That's his kind of special ability. You know, he can throw his grenades quite a bit further than any other class can with the grenades. So he is very useful, especially when you're getting close to the trenches and everything. But I think you can tell just from the Tommies side that each of the factions has a unique balance to them, and each of the classes in each squad has their own ability as well, and it really does set each one apart, and if you haven't got one, then it really can hinder the performance of your squad. I personally like this because it means that you can't be a one-man army completely. Obviously you can be, because there's nothing stopping you at the end of the day, but it's very difficult to beat unless you are good at the game. But that's the balance basically done with. Obviously the progression system works the same through each of the factions, and each faction has 4 classes in its faction. Now, the way that you unlock each of the loadouts is you get career points. Basically, when you level up, you get a career point. You can spend those career points on whatever loadout you want, but you do have to go down. So for the corporal, you can't just go straight for the rifle with the bayonet. First of all, you have the revolver and the binoculars. You then have to unlock the revolver and the grenade, and then you have to unlock the rifle and the bayonet. You can't skip one like you can in Rifle Deathmatch. So this one's a bit more linear in it, but you don't have to unlock the corporal then the rifleman. You can just go straight for the rifleman and master him if you want. It's completely up to you. So I've gone through each of the classes that you can have in a faction. Obviously there's only 4. I'm not going to go through every class that you have in every single faction because that will take too long, but I can go through all the factions with you. Now on the Allies side you've got 4 factions. On the Axis, or the Germans, or whatever you want to call them, there's only 3 at the moment. I thought that one of them was Italian infantry, but apparently I'm wrong about that. So on the Allies side, you've got the Chasseurs Alpins. Now I'm probably going to pronounce all of these wrong, but that's the light French infantry. And then you've got the Poilus. I really don't know. I can't pronounce French. They're basically the standard French army. So the light infantry can obviously move a bit faster. The standard French army, they do get a bit more in terms of equipment and everything at their disposal. And then after that you've got the Canadians. I can't really say much about the Canadians. They have basically the same equipment as the Tommies do, but obviously they've got a few different things. Like their corporal, for instance, has mustard gas instead of mortars or 75mm artillery. And then obviously, last of all, you've got the Tommies, which I can't say anything more than the Brits, basically. They're the British, that's all I can say. Now we get onto the German side, which I can kind of pronounce better than the French. I apologise for my terrible pronunciation of the French. But on the German side, we've got the Alpenjäger, which is light German infantry. Obviously, kind of the same thing as the light French infantry. And then you've got the Stoßtrupp, which are the infiltration German units, which are kind of more of your covert kind of thing and more of your dirty tactics. So they'll have the grenades and the explosives and the spades and everything that you can beat people over the head with. And then you've got the Landwehr, which are the basic German infantry. Obviously, quite standard stuff, nothing different with them from any of the others. And yeah, that's all of the factions. Each of the factions is balanced quite well. Obviously, each person has a weapon that they prefer. I personally prefer the Lee Enfield over all the other weapons, which is why I generally play Tommies. But each to their own. I know people who are very good with the Kar 98. I personally can't use it because the iron sights to me make no sense. But yeah, factions fairly well balanced between them all. I'd say the Tommies do have an advantage because the Lee Enfield is statistically the best rifle in the game. It has the highest magazine capacity, it can hold 10 rounds, and it has the highest rounds per minute of any of the rifles. And obviously with the high bullet damage that it is anyway, that means that you can kill 10 people if you're a good shot quite fast. So I think there could be a bit of work to be done there, but at the moment no one's really complaining about it, because at the end of the day this is more true to life than anything else, and it's not meant to be a well balanced game. It's meant to be true to life and giving you a realistic vision of trench warfare in a game. But I personally think that while the game has a lot of good points, it really does have a lot of flaws as well. And some of the flaws are really difficult to get past, like the low frame rate and everything, and the bad optimization on some of the maps. At the moment, considering how long the game has been out in beta as well, an early release, it's a bad position for the game to be in. While I understand that it's only got a developer team of 4 people, and I'm saying, you know, well done to them, 4-man developer team, and they've managed to come up with a game like this, absolutely amazing. But there are still a few kinks that need to be worked out. So for that reason, it's the ultimate best game ever. But it is a good game if you like realistic shooters over the more arcadey shooters, and if you like a high damage model and the ability to get a lot of kills but also the ability to die a lot. But one thing that I do have to mention is the community. Now, most gaming communities are either good or they're bad. Like Battlefield, for instance, has gotten a reputation for being an overall bad gaming community. Same with Call of Duty. Call of Duty got a reputation for being an overall bad gaming community. Things like Armour and everything have got a fairly good community. This one, I'm kind of mixed on at the moment. But if you find the right people to play with, like I know there's a few clans that have been founded just to play Verdun, and just for playing Verdun, there's literally, I think about 4 or 5 that I know of that are strictly Verdun clans that have been founded through people who play Verdun and have found people who they like in the game. Then, you know, to me it's not an overall bad community, it's just a few bad people in it. Whereas something like Call of Duty or Battlefield, you know, majority of them now are people who more want to take the piss than just want to be nice to people and have a nice experience on the internet. Quite unfortunate, but anyway. So, Verdun, excellent game, quite sturdy. I love most of the mechanics in it. Unfortunately, it does have a few issues with the optimization. So, it's probably not one to get straight away if you don't like the look of it and you don't like the sound of it. But if you are unsure about it, maybe put it on the back burner, keep an eye on it. If you like the look of it though, then I would suggest getting it in like a Steam sale or whatever. It'll be well worth your money, because I've had a lot of fun in Verdun, and I'm betting that I'll have a lot more when they keep on patching it again, because there's patches that come out all the time for it, and they're not just small patches that do nothing either. There's a full list of everything that the patch changes and everything. There's updates constantly. They're constantly interacting with people on the Steam page and everything. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching. If you did like this, then obviously leave a like and a comment down below and all that kind of stuff. There are other people who are doing these reviews as well, so obviously, you know, hit them up with a like and everything when they're doing reviews and all that kind of stuff. Other than that, there's nothing else for me to say. I have been Iron, and I will probably see you again at some point in the near future. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.